to do app better, you can just give it any name. But what we are going to do in this video is we are going to see how to, you know, to make this create tags of a thing work. So I've already done some things behind the scene, like I could, add a new tags and then provide a description. So I just created a new tags, and to add it, I'll click on um, this add tags button. Automatically, it will also appear here. And when I also add, a new task like do my um, laundry, and then I say wash some clothes this way, and I hit on add tags button, you can see tags added successfully was displayed down below here. Now, but currently the update tags doesn't work, but the button is clickable. When you click it, just give you an alert over here. So, and it doesn't update. So you can see when I click on the update, it tells me coming soon with the ID of the task. I click on cooking, you see coming soon with the ID, which is 3. And the same thing for laundry, but the delete button doesn't really work for now. So in this video, we'll be adding this update functionality, and then in the next video, we will add the delete functionality. So why I'm not going to add everything at once is that I don't really want to make the video so long. So let me just walk you through my stack. So this is not just your vanilla HTML and CSS and JavaScript. So this is actually a server-side rendering application. So this is just a back-end application, but then this backend does not really have um, a database to make our data persistent. So you can see on my Explorer, I got my node modules, I've got my public, and inside public, I've got a couple of image, just an image rather, and I have my index.js. I've got my CSS, just a simple CSS, and in my index.js. So this is my JavaScript file that is linked to the HTML, which is this HTML over here. So this is just a basic HTML page that is displaying the form to add um, the task, and this is where the task is being displayed. Now you can see that both the index.js, which is for the front end, and then the style.css, they are inside my public folder. So that is that. I also have .git ignore file so that the node modules will not be pushed to GitHub. And then this is my server.js, my index.js or server.js. This is just my entry points. You can see where my app is listening, and you can also see um, where my app happened to be created. So in short, this is just an express application. So we'll be getting started right away to implement the update functionality. But first, you need to also set your app to use app express.json. So this is going to enable us pass data from the JavaScript that is in the front end um, to the back end and also to the HTML. So that's just that. So the repo to this particular project, I'm going to add it to the description. So you are always welcomed, to clone the project, maybe complete it by adding the delete functionality and other stuff. So in order to get started, I'm going to go back to my index.js, which is located in my public folder, because this is the JavaScript that is linked to the HTML, and this other index.html is just my Express server. So I won't be touching this for now. I'm just going to start with index.js located inside um, the public folder. So I'm just going to close this Explorer here this way. And I already have, a function that is displaying the whole tags. You can see this is the function which is displaying the whole tags, and it's quite lengthy. But then don't get scared. All these things are simple, and you can see I've got my update button over here. So basically, I'm updating tags based on their IDs. So I'm updating tags based on their ID, which I passed here, and also we'll be doing the same thing for the deletes. So we'll be deleting based on the ID. So I forgot to show you one thing again. This is the tags. So the ones that I've been showing on the screen so far is just an array that has objects. So mind you, these things are not the data in the front end here will not be persistent, in the sense that when I reload the page a bit, um, I'm still getting the data, but over some time, after some time, um, these tags here might, get deleted, you know. So, and I'm also using Bootstrap. So I use Bootstrap, to add the styling I have here. So now let's quickly, get to make the update functionality work. So I'm going to go back to my public. I already have a function below here. You can see the function is already here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to comment out this particular part, and I'm going to zoom in a bit this way. So first thing first is I want, if I click on the update here, now I want to get something like a prompt that is going to ask me the title of the tags I'm updating. I want to update, and then also another prompt that is going to ask me to enter the description. So I'm going to be using the JavaScript window method called prompts to actually get this particular thing done. So I'm going to say let's um, title or new title equal to, I'll say prompts. So I'll just pass something like enter new title this way. So I'm also going to make a new variable. So let's description equal to, I'll say prompts this way. I will come down here and then say enter new description this way. So I will then check for if the user didn't provide any title and then description. I'll then say if there is no new title or there is no description this way. So I could now do something inside the curly braces. But let's not forget to also add string. Now this string is just a string method to get rid of white spaces. So that's why I'm adding this string over here. So I'm not going to say if there is no title and then there is no description, I would also want to throw an error maybe at this place for the user. So what I'm going to now do is in my HTML over here, I already have an error class which for now is hidden. So I'm just going to grab this man and then remove this class with a JavaScript method. So let's go and get that. So I'm going to say if this is empty or this is empty, now grab our error class. I'll say let error. So hope you know where the error is coming from. I'll say let error equals to document dot query selector. So and the class there happens to be error. And then having done this, I'll now also remove um that particular display none. So error dot class list dot I'll say remove. So we are removing d dash none. Hope you know where d dash none is coming from. So I'm now removing this particular class over here. So that's what I'm just doing this way. So having done this, I will also now make an error message. So which is now error dot text contents will now be equals to please fill out all fields. So if you have a better error message, you could as well pass here. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to make this error message disappear after maybe 3 seconds or 4 seconds. So I'm going to use the set timeout method. Now this set timeout method is going to call a function. So it's going to call a function, and this particular function that I just made, which in this case happens to be an arrow function, will disappear every 4 seconds. That's why I'm putting 4,000. 4,000 in this case means 4,000 milliseconds. So that's that. So what's now going to happen? I'll now call back my error. I'll say dot class list dot add. So we are now putting back um our g dash none, to make this hidden again. So and after this, I would like to return back, so to prevent the code from further execution. So now what we are going to do is let's go back and then check out what we've done so far. So I'm going to reload the um, the the browser. Now this might take a couple of time because I'm actually using Bootstrap CDN, so it's just like taking a whole lot of time. So I'll click on this update method. You can see the prompt has just appeared. I will just leave it empty because I just want to text the error which we just made. So I'll say okay, enter description. I will also say okay, and you can see down here I'll have fill out all fields message. At least that is working. So we are making a serious progress. Now, second thing we would want to now do is that we'll now use fetch to interact with our server. So I'm just going to have my server over here. I'm just going to duplicate my screen, and I think this is my server. I'll grab this and keep it here, and then um, then write my fetch function. Now still inside the update tags. So I'm going to go with fetch this way. I'm going to be providing a route here. The route I'll be providing here, I'm going to call it updates slash I could go with slash like this update. So I'll now be updating these tags based on the ID. So you could see I've already gotten the ID of the tags over here, because when I showed you that we'll be updating and also be deleting based on the tags IDs. So look at where we grabbed it here. This is just like where we called the update tags function. This is where we called it, and then the tags ID happened to be the parameter, sorry, the argument. This happens to be the argument we passed to this particular function over here. So if we are also calling this particular function, or when we go to make this particular function, we should also provide the parameter as we've provided the argument. So when we now move down to this particular place, so I now provided back this parameter, so it's important. So I'm now going to go here and now grab the ID. I will use my plus and then pass my ID like this. And then I'm also going to like pass optional parameters um to the fetch method. So I'm going to pass my method. Now my method is going to be posts. Now it's good you put this in capital letter, posts, this way. Now followed by your headers. So this is just a an object rather. So this content type means the type of content that we will be uploading here. I will say application slash JSON this way, and after which I'll then provide the body. I'll then go for JSON, because why we are passing JSON here is that JSON means JavaScript object notation. It's just a means of data transfer from the front end to the back end, because we cannot just send a plain text so or a number. We need to actually convert it to a JSON and then send it over the server. So we'll now say stringify. So stringify is a method to convert strings to JSON. So I'm now going to now pass this my new description, and new title. So we'll first pass our new title and a comma and description this way. So um that is all for the fetch. So I'm now going to make these routes in my server. So I'm just going to do that maybe below here. So I'm just going to use app.posts this way. So now let's copy this particular route so that we don't make mistakes. So copy it, paste it back here. So we also need to pass back this parameter that we provided here. So to pass it here, just go with a colon and then pass your ID. Now after which you now provide your res, so your request and your res parameters this way. And then we can now log what was sent to the server. So I'm just going to say console.log request.body. So this request.body simply means this particular body here that came from the front end. So when I log this, I should be able to see this right in my terminal. So I should see it here if things work well. So let's go back and then reload our browser. So like I told you, it's taking some time because of the CDN, and currently my laptop is not connected to the internet. That's why it's taking some time. So I'll click on update. I'm going to change it to maybe I'll say cooking. I don't know if cooking is what I have already. So I'll say learn how to cook. I'll hit OK and then move over to the VS Code. You can see I now got what I typed in the browser. So that actually tells us that our fetch method is working, and then we've been able to also get the parameter. So now what we're going to now do is, now let's try to also get the parameter. I'll also say console.log res request dot params id. So request dot params dot id. So these are just properties, you know. So I just want to get I just want to make sure that I'm going to get the ID of the actual task that we are about to update. So I'll click on update again. I will, you know, just type random thing inside here, another random thing inside here, and then send it over to the server. You can see I got the random thing I typed, and also I got the ID, which happened to be 2. But then this 2 here is not a number, because from my server here, if I scroll down, you can see my tags here, and you can see my IDs are actual numbers, they are not strings. So we need to convert these 2 that we got to an actual number. So to do that, what I can do is I can just come down here, define a variable. I'm going to call it ID. I will now see, and now I'm not going to use percent. So percent is a number method used to extract numbers from strings. So what I'm going to do, I'll say request dot what params dot id this way. So I can now check the value of this. I'll say console.log id this way. I can even put my type of here just to make sure I get the data type of the ID, and I can also pass the actual um, maybe pass the actual ID. So let's go back to the browser and then update the reading again. Type random things inside, another random thing, and then hit OK. Now go back to the server. I get the random thing. I also got the data type, which happened to be number, and then the actual value, which happened to be 2. You can see it is now yellow, while here it is white. So yellow here means it is a number, and then 2 here, the 2 in written in white means it is just a string. So we are actually making headway. So what I'm going to do next is that I would want to destructure this particular object, which is the thing I just typed. So to destructure this, since I've gotten this, I'm going to get rid of this line. I'm also going to get rid of this line because I just used that particular line to test something. I'll also get rid of this line. Now I want to now destructure this object below here, the object on my terminal, which is the new thing I updated. So I'm about to update rather. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to declare a variable, not a variable, rather my const keyword, or your let, or your var. So I'm moving with const because these are just constants, So, and I'm going to make my curly braces, and I'm not going to destructure based on the properties. Now I'm just going to copy, paste it here. Also copy the description this way, and I'm going to paste it here. At the end of the day, I'll say equal to request dot body, like this. So this is destructuring. So now this destruction is now going to help me to grab each of these things on their own. Like I can now have access to new title as a variable, and then description also as variable. So what I'm going to now do next, I want to check if these things are empty or not. So if there is no new title or no description, I can now send something over from the server. res Sorry, this should be res dot status. I'm just going to put status. That's the status code. I could just say 500, you know server error, something like that. So we'll now send our JSON this way. So this JSON is going to also take um an object. So I'm just going to pass a message this way, and I'll say please fill out all fields like this way. So I'll also have to provide my else here, like this. So if there is no title, send this thing to the front end. Now if there is else now means if this thing happens to be false, if this condition we passed here happen to be false, now do what we are going to now do here. So what are we going to now do here? What we are going to now do is that I'm not going to use this particular ID to check if to check against the tags I have over here, and I want to now check if the ID matches any of the IDs in this particular tags. Now get me that particular object. That's what I'm going to now do. I'm not going to now do if this ID here by any means matches any of the tags inside this particular array. Now find me or get me that particular object. So what do we do next? We are now going to use an array method called find. So how do I move with that? I'll say const to update, I'll say update task. I'll say equal to, I'll say task. Now where is task coming from? Task is coming from the name of the array, task. So I just grabbed it and I passed it here, and I'll say dot find. So this find is going to take a parameter that's going to represent each of the objects inside the task array. I don't know if I'm making sense, but it's going to take a function that has a parameter, and the parameter in the function is going to now represent each of those objects inside the array. So I'm just going to widen my screen a bit. Now what am I doing next? I'm now going to say task. I'm using an arrow function. I'll say task dot id. If anyone happens to equal our id, happens to equal this particular id over here, so we are now going to grab that particular task and then we'll return it. So I will now log the update task just to make sure I get something in return, So update task like this. So when I now go over, I'm just going to scroll down so that I can just like get to the end of the terminal this way. Now let's try to update reading. So I'll click on update, put some random text again. I'll say okay. Come down here. Yeah, I got something. You can see I obviously returned an object. You can see the ID here matches the ID of what we just clicked on, which happened to be reading. You can see. So now let's go check out for washing again, just to make sure everything is working as planned. So what we are expecting to get is an ID of this particular tax, which is 1. So we are actually going to have an ID of 1, title washing, and description wash some clothes. So that's the objects we are expecting to get at the terminal this way, and then move over to the terminal. So you can now see we are getting that. So that's a plus for us. So now um since this is now an object, since this here is now an object, what we are going to do next is now to update it to the new thing that we typed. So how do you update that? So I'm also going to check if this guy exists, if update tags exists. Now if it's in existence, which means if it is true, we are now going to update the following properties. We are going to update the title, we are going to update the title, and we are also going to update the description to what the user typed, which is the new title and the new description. So we are now going to say update dot title equal to the new title. I'll also say update tags dot description equal to the description that the user typed this way. So we just updated. So what I'm going to now say, if this update was successful, so we're also going to send something over to the client, which we're going to say response dot json dot status. So it's good to pass our status code, which is 200, and we'll also send a JSON. So we'll say JSON. So pass an object message. I'll say task was updated um, successfully, like this. So I think I'm done with this place. So what we are going to now do next is to now get these messages and then pass them over to the front end. So what I'm going to now do is I'm just going to now move over to the front end, and then I'll move with my dot then this way. So dot then also takes what, a parameter. So I'm going to also pass um, response. I'm going to pass just response. Um, this is just a random variable. that I just declared like this. I'll now say the response if the response is not okay, if the response was okay, so it means if the response is not okay, now throw us an error, throw new error. So we are just tapping into the error class and we'll say um oops, something went wrong this way. So else we are now going to like return the actual data. We'll say response dot will convert to JSON this way. And we'll now say dot then again. Now dot then will now pass data. What we are now saying is const message equal to data dot this message over here. So the message could either be this, could either be tax was updated successfully, or please fill out the following fields. So I'll pass it this way. So what I'll also do next is to pass it for pass it to the clients to see very well. So I'm just going to do similar thing I did up here. I'll just copy from here. That's the error class side, and then paste it here. But I'm just going to make a couple of changes. So I'm just going to remove this, please fill out these fields, and then switch it to the message which I got from the server. And then I will also make my dots catch, so that if there is an error while we are making this request to the server, we also catch the error and then log it at the client side. So to get the actual error, we'll pass a message this way. So I'm getting no error, so that's cool. But then I also want, when this message is being passed, we would now re-render our display tags function, which I already made behind the scene. So I'm also going to call back my display tags function in this place. So let's move over to the front end. Let's reload our page. So I hope this works. So it should work. It should work. So let's update this to cleaning. So we'll click on this, we'll put cleaning. Cleaning. Okay, I'll say clean my room, and I'll hit OK. So obviously you can see the success message. You can also see the cleaning and then the description. So let's just take this again. Let's also edit reading. I will say, wash the car. That will be the title, and the description is I must not forget. This way, tax was updated successfully, and wash the car, and the description which says I must not forget. So if you really like this video, I would want you to share these videos to some of your friends that might be interested in learning JavaScript. So I'm going to see you in the next video. Bye.